What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to the Weekend Preview, the show here on BTB TV where we preview the weekend. I sit in my swivel chair. I do a lot less of this and a little bit more of this. I hope you guys had a good week. We had a good week. I was out at the Rochester cyclocross event, which was really cool. You guys should check that out if you haven't already. Check it out for next year. Put it on your schedules. But for this weekend, we are previewing the Gateway Cross Cup in St. Louis. It's going to be an awesome race. It's part of the Cross After Dark series. It is a continuation of the USA Cycling Pro CX calendar. It's a UCI race. It's going to be awesome. First up, we talk about the weather. I wish I had something exciting to report, like a crazy heat storm coming in, or a snowstorm, or some rain, but unfortunately, or fortunately, it looks to be ideal weather. 60 degrees, high 50s, low 60s, and sunny. The course on tap is also nothing spectacular in a good or bad way, but it is a very strong cyclocross course, will be very decisive. You guys can check out the map. We'll have links down below for you to read more about it, but there are stairs, there are barriers, there are plenty of running sections, plenty of corners. It's really one of the, it's one of those courses where, you know, we're in Colorado and we have a sandy course, or we're in Rochester this past weekend and we have a hilly course where there's really one defining feature. This race in St. Louis is one of those courses that has just a little bit of everything in a good mix to give everybody sort of an equal playing field. Talking about the start list now. It's not going to be a huge start list. A lot of your top ranked riders in the nation, like they did this past weekend, continuing a little bit of a mid-season break here. A couple guys over in Europe as well for the World Cups, but that said, we will still have some very, very strong riders in attendance. On the women's side of things, we have the return of Elle Anderson. She had that super strong start to the season where she went 4 wins in a row. Then she beats Katie Compton in Providence. Then she goes out to Boulder and she had a bit of a fumble, both literally and figuratively. She had crashes both days. She had some mechanical trouble. She was under the weather, had caught a bit of a head cold, but went back to San Francisco. She rested. She's been training again. In St. Louis this weekend will be the first chance to see if that was a fluke, what we saw in the early season, or whether or not that's the new Elle Anderson, if that's going to be the regular. And with the field it is there, realistically, if she brings that form, she could take another 2 UCI wins. So she'll be going up against Nicole Duke, riders like Amanda Carey, some really strong riders out of the Midwest. On the men's side of things, we have the return of Ben Berden, also coming off his first weekend off of the season. The Belgian rider already has a win on day number 2 in Providence this year, and he's had so many. He's been the most consistent podium rider, other than Jeremy Powers, all season long. Just seconds and thirds and seconds and thirds every single weekend. No Powers, Johnson, or Trebone there, so Berden definitely comes in as the favorite. He'll have Zach McDonald to contend with, who's been finding his legs again. We saw in Rochester, he finally capped off a good ride and took second place on day number 1 there. Still struggling with a bit of crashes. We talked about it in the episode of Who's Number 1 back on Tuesday, but his fitness not quite there. His bike handling skills, everyone knows he's the best, one of the best, if not the best bike handlers in the field here in North America. So he's been pushing it a little too much with the handling skills to try and make up for the lack of fitness. It's caused him to crash in multiple races this season, but he looks to be getting that fitness to come along with the handling. So he could be up there riding second wheel and maybe giving Ben some trouble. Then we'll have a couple Colorado riders, a couple local Midwest guys like Mitch Hoke is coming out, Troy Wells, who had some back injuries. He seems to be coming back again. Tristan Schouten from the Midwest. So a lot of guys. This is one of those races that you might not have every single one of the top riders, but you have all the riders who need points. I mean, it's not a cherry picker's race, but it's one of those races that a guy like Ben Berden, he has a lot of seconds and thirds, but he needs some wins. He needs some C2 points for winning. And then you got guys like Mitch Hoke and Troy Wells who just need some points right now to keep their start positions strong. Moving on to the SRAM, key to the race. The key to the race for this weekend, given that it is a night race on Saturday, will be night vision. No, I'm just kidding. But because it is a night race, it brings an interesting element to the racing, and that is, whereas you would normally have 24 hours to recover between a Saturday afternoon race and a Sunday afternoon race, now you have essentially 12 hours to recover because you're racing late on Saturday night into the dark, which means by the time you finish your cool down and you eat dinner and you wash the bikes, you get back to the hotel, it's very, very late. You're probably going to bed early morning on Sunday anyway. Then you got to wake back up, get to the venue for a normal start on Sunday. So gauging your efforts on Saturday, not going too hard, not putting yourself in a hole that you won't have time to recover from. So if you're a guy like Ben Bairden, who maybe you're off the front all by yourself, maybe you only win by 5 seconds instead of winning by a minute. And then realistically too, I mean, not actually night vision goggles, although that would be pretty sweet if you had night vision goggles for the race. But it does add an element when you're racing at night like this. It's one thing to be a good bike handler and know how to take corners and barriers. It's another thing entirely to do it essentially in the dark. I mean, you have lights overhead, but it is still, the shadows are different. So guys who have raced Starcrossed and Cross Vegas and some of the other Cross After Dark series, maybe a little more experience, they could have the edge in this one. I think that's it, guys. We got a World Cup going on as well. We go over to the Czech Republic. There's going to be good stuff there. Katie Compton, she can maybe do better than her second place this weekend. We'll see as she goes up against Voss. Jonathan Page, again, the only man over there. He had a pretty tough weekend. We'll see what he can do. Gabby Duran, Helen Wyman, Katie Antony, they all had some great weekends. Caroline Money had a great weekend. We'll keep an eye on that. Logan Owen, he's going to be up in the U23 race. His first World Cup as a U23 this past weekend. Didn't go so hot. He was outside the top 20 while his former arch nemesis from the junior days went out and won that race, Vanderpool. So we'll see if Logan can maybe crack the top 10. That's it, guys. It is going to be another great weekend here in cyclocross here on BTB TV. Go ahead, as usual, check out the links down below. If you're here on BehindTheBarriers.tv, we have start sheets and weather reports and all the Twitters and hashtags and Facebooks that you could ever want. If you're watching this somewhere else, Velo News, Cyclocross Magazine, wherever else it is, check out those sites as well. I know Velo News and CX Magazine, they'll have coverage from the World Cup, whereas I personally will not be there. But thank you for joining us. Have a great week. Have a great weekend. Do some racing yourself. We'll see you guys soon.